All right, so it is the end of the week, and I am here recording my weekly reflection. I want to first just start off by saying that this week has been very interesting to say the least because last week I was sick and I fell ill. I believe it was Thanksgiving Day, and it basically pretty much have lasted all the way up. I'm much better. My strength has come back pretty good. So I'm doing pretty well as of today. The fever is gone, the aches is gone, but I'm still having that moments where I'm trying to still gather myself because I've been laying in the bed all day. So most days I was laying in the bed. So I just wanted to get up and just move about. I've been doing that for the last few days now. I'm celebrating my son's birthday this week. He turned 19, so that's a blessing within itself. But I just began to reflect this week on just how much sometimes, we need to be sick. Sometimes you need that because what it does is it gives you a wake up call to readjust. While I was laying in the bed, I began to reflect on, not even just how I want to get better, but how I have gotten better and where I was in June, where I was at the midpoint of the year, to how I started off the year in January, but more importantly, where I am now in December. I am um, grateful that I invested in myself. Moreover, I think that that's very important, and people must understand that you have to invest in yourself. You have to put in the work. If you do not put in the work, you will not see the results. It's no different than, if I say I want to lose 3 pounds and then am constantly eating cake and cookies all week and not working out or not changing my diet regimen. It's all about consistency. And that's something that I reflected over this week of just how, on the days I wanted to give up, there were moments when I just didn't want to be bothered, didn't want anyone around me. I just wanted my own space to myself. And I'm still like that at times now because, I really am in a space of reflecting, really am in a space of growing, really am in a space of shedding away old patterns and ways. And I talk about that, and I will in another segment to old patterns. And that's what I thought about this week of thinking about a lot of the old patterns that I had dredged up and carried along for such a long time, and how it definitely kept me in stagnation as a person, as a woman. And I'm just in a space now at the age of 40 where I'm just ready to grow. And it is hard some days because when you're in a space of growing, you have to look at your environment and you have to see how, even though you're growing, you're not trying to stay in the same space, that you have to be okay with other people around you not putting in their work. And it's very hard some days. It's like an eye sore, it's like a wound. You're trying to pick at the scab, but you don't know, you know your wound is yours. It's not anyone else's, and that's something that I've learned to just to not take on and carry anything that is not mine. That is something that I have learned for the last week or so now. Just even reflecting back to a conversation that I had with my nephew on Thanksgiving Day, and I opened the floor for him to just speak about some things, and I reflected back to him. It was okay for him to have those thoughts and feelings toward a certain situation, and I said, that's what we don't do as humans a lot. Sometimes we bury emotions, sometimes we stuff things down, and we do not put in the concerted effort to expound upon how we feel, why we feel the way we feel, and how we want things to change. So that was just my reflection this week of owning that I have shedded off a lot of weight, not even just physically, but mentally here. I have shed off a lot of mental weight, a lot of emotional weight for years. And some days, I'm going to be honest, when I wake up, it's like I feel empty, and not in a bad empty, but a good empty. Like there have been days where I'm sitting around and I'm trying to figure out, well, what's next. I'm used to worrying about things, and I'm think for the first time in my life, I realized that was one of my biggest problems, worrying about other things, worrying about other people, worrying about how things would change for them and not necessarily myself. So my challenge for myself this week was to reflect on and how much I overfunctioned for other people, how much I carried on people's emotional weight, how much I literally paid attention to others and not myself. This is something that I'm working on constantly. It is not something that I sit in much of many anymore. I've felt in moments that people have been speaking about stuff, and I'm listening to them talk. And what I have learned to now master is not absorbing what's being said to me. And I'm not sure if that's because I'm in the field of social work now, if that has made a difference. These monumental cases that I have been seeing throughout, my tenure on my MSW journey so far, my internship side, I don't know, what it is, but I do know that um, it's just now when I'm around, whether it's family, people, and my daily, I don't absorb things anymore. People have their problems, and I realize, wow, you're really putting in some work and effort, and it's not a disdain towards the other person, whomever it is in front of me. It's just I'm learning the importance of taking care of myself first now. That was not something that I did a lot of in the past because sometimes when we take on not necessarily the caregiver role as you're trying to be somebody's caregiver, but I'm talking about the caregiver role of people who didn't ask for it, not just a mandated role or you doing it from a loving place, taking on the role of taking on other people's thoughts and emotions. And I realized that that was something that I did a lot in the past, and I have not done that in months now. And to have the mental clarity of just holding myself accountable and understanding, I don't have to carry things. I don't have to carry people. The only person that I'm in charge of carrying, honestly, is myself. This is a long conversation, that I had with my son, for his birthday. Do not carry things that do not belong to you. Worry about yourself. It's okay to worry about your parents. I love that he worries and cares for me. My son this week has been encouraging me. He's been giving me a lot of hugs and just coming in my room. He was able to look at, a portion of my testimony here at YouTube. He actually saw the whole thing and he came into my room and he encouraged me. And it really meant a lot to me that, he wanted to take time out to discuss, parts of my testimony and ask answers. And without going too much into that conversation, I just pretty much said, worry about yourself. Do not carry. And I spoke to him about self love. I spoke to him about, you know, not being the gatekeeper to other people. And I didn't mean that in a derogatory manner. I meant that in a way that a mother's supposed to tell her child, worry about yourself first. You know, you have an obligation to make sure you're okay as a young man. I believe, when you connect with God and you know who God is, that you will learn to know who you are and how to love yourself because you love God and it's an extension of you and how you carry you. And that's what we ended up, ending the conversation there. And that's what I took away from this week, getting back to being more spiritual, connected with God, praying more, fasting more, and being intentional with it. Not saying I wasn't intentional with it in the past, but just being more intentional of how I seek and serve Him. And I do realize, as I'm beginning to turn around and pray more and get away from, basically isolate myself, that I have noticed a difference. So, that's just what I've been able to reflect on this week, just being more prayerful, just being able to have the ability to let go of things that were never mine to begin with. So, again, I just want to encourage you to reflect if you can weekly, write it down, journal it, and just, think about how you have improved over the course of the year, but more so for the month. I thank you very much for your time today, and I look forward to having more weekly reflections with you all. Take care.